Let's start off with the hydrogen bet, because you guys are going big. By a lot of estimates, the role of hydrogen could help cut greenhouse gas emissions globally by about a tenth of levels by 2050. So it's not the whole piece of the story. Why are you going so passionately for this as a facilitator of energy?
Look, I would challenge that. I'd say that the green emissions, the dirty emissions from heavy manufacturing is at least 25% of the whole of the world's emissions. Heavy manufacturing can not only go green hydrogen, but also green ammonia and green electricity. Very much looking forward to that future. That 10%, I think, should be much closer to 90 to 100% if we really get our policy settings right.
So what would you then say to some of the sceptics, right? BHP, for example, saying that it's not going to be a rival to coal for at least another decade. Do you think we can get there quicker and cheaper before then?
No, look, I think it will absolutely rival coal within a decade. But will it completely remove coal? No, we will move over from oil, gas and coal. But my argument is that we've got so many more, thousands of times more abundant renewable energy than we've got coal, gas or oil reserves in the ground. Let's stop dithering, let's stop mucking around, and let's make the switch to green as soon as possible. Let's go completely green by 2050, if not much earlier.
How do you plan to finance all this?
How do you
plan to finance all of this?
Oh, thank you. Look, finance, I don't think is the issue. Great projects is the issue, and policy settings from government really supporting their economies going green. You've got around 120 trillion Australian dollars already committed, around half the investable capital of the world already committed to backing those countries which are committed to going completely green by 2050. So it's almost, how can you not finance it? The other half will be making their judgments at COP26. Now's the time to make sure that liquidity, that finance as you call it, is available to great Australian projects, great international projects. That's our job.
When it comes to all of these projects, how important is to really drive down costs in order to make them viable?
Oh, look, we're doing it right now. We've established a project in Gladstone. We'll establish another one in Parkes, New South Wales, and at Port Kembla, which can manufacture all the green products which the green future is going to need. Let's start with the critical one, electrolyzers, the little machine that splits water into those two valuable commodities, hydrogen and oxygen. Right now, I can buy a 1 megawatt hydrogen electrolyzer in Europe for around €1 million, maybe a little more. I will be able to build these in Australia for 300,000 to 400,000, if not less. That's a drop of 70 or 80% right there in our most critical element. So that cost is already falling.
Does that make you more competitive against China as well? Of course, a global leader in the manufacturing of electrolyzers.
Yeah, look, China's a global leader in manufacturing, full stop, but Australia is a global leader in having everything which the green future needs, all the sun, all the wind, all the elements of renewable electricity, which we can make cheaper than anyone else here. It stands to reason that we should also, being smart, hard-working people as well, be able to make all our own goods. Now, 100%, nearly 100% of the manufactured items which go into, say, the solar industry comes from overseas. I think it's time to stop that. I think it's time to say, hey, we're going to be such a massive consumer of photovoltaic cells, of wind turbines, of everything to build out that green future. Let's make it right here in Australia.
Hydrogen's been called the Swiss Army knife of kind of energy facilitators, right? But it is not for every purpose, I imagine, because there are lots of things where electrification, where renewables already exist and at a much cheaper level.
Look, I completely agree. We're envisioning a future which is green electricity, green ammonia and green hydrogen. And we see these three elements coming together to completely replace dirty emitting sources of building products like cement and steel or energy like oil, coal and gas by 2050, if not before.
It's still not clear whether Prime Minister Scott Morrison will go to Glasgow. Do you think he should? And what are you expecting from the government in terms of a cohesive, a unified set of policies going into the summit?
Look, it is very important our own Prime Minister, leading a nation which is seen worldwide as one of the countries with the greatest potential to really build out a green energy future, to really grow its economy. Our Prime Minister will become even better known globally and sadly here if he doesn't go, because he'll be seen as the standout, if you like, not the COP26, but the cop-out. I think our Prime Minister should go. If I was a betting man, I think he probably will go, because he sees it as responsible for his country to be leading from the front, where the world is going to be watching, where the future of Australia will be on the line. That's where our Prime Minister can really lead our country.
Perceived or otherwise, I think so much of the lack of traction for climate change policy in this country has been due to vested interests, right? How do you think that could change? And if government policy doesn't make that commitment, can the private sector really take its place?
I think you're seeing change now. I think you're seeing, well, for a start, us announcing such massive projects in manufacturing and production of green energy, in production of the harder one, which is hydrogen, and making green electricity is pretty easy. Stepping it into hydrogen, green ammonia, everything the world needs, that's the extra steps which people have been faltering on. Now that you've seen a really deeply respected globally, but great Australian up-and-comer in Fortescue Metals Group reaching out and doing it themselves, you've seen this great rush. You've seen change happening, not gradually or slowly anymore, but suddenly and quickly. Media coming on board, governments coming on board, politicians changing. This change is upon us now. It's a great time to be a part of it.
What's your gripe with blue hydrogen?
Well, simply that if you burn it and make it into hydrogen, then you, from a carbon perspective, would be just better off burning it and keeping it as electricity. Making it into hydrogen, unfortunately, means you're much better off just burning it as coal, fuel or oil, because you make so many more carbon emissions by those extra steps in hydrogen. It's because it's a fake green fuel. Yes, it's the same clean molecule once it's made, but with grey or blue hydrogen, the process to get it there is unfortunately very dirty. There's no hiding from that.